right, we are live. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the MCI World Headquarters here in lovely Durham, North Carolina, and happy Giving Tuesday, everyone. This is, our kind of the second Giving Tuesday that I've been able to celebrate with MCI, and it's really this amazing day, kind of couched amongst the Cyber Mondays and the Black Fridays of the year. It's a time during the holiday season to really highlight and support nonprofits and charities just doing good work, trying to improve the world around us. So we thought this would be a unique opportunity for us to kind of provide a peek behind the curtains and for you to get a chance to meet us a little bit. We're gonna spend probably the next 20, 30 minutes just talking about who we are, what MCI does, and why your support is so important to us. So I'm here with our Executive Director, Heather Vedot. And Heather, if you could just kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about MCI and your vision for the organization.
Sure, and thanks Kevin for setting this up. This is our
Sure.
first Facebook Live event, so we're super excited to do this, so thank you for joining us.
Bear with us.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm the Executive Director here at Male Contraceptive Initiative, and I've been here for a little over a year now, and this is also my second Giving Tuesday with the organization, and I have enjoyed every moment of my time here. I love the subject matter, obviously, and public health nerd with a background in contraception, and I think male contraception is a really exciting place to be working in. The research community working in the space is fabulous, and I've really enjoyed meeting all of our colleagues and grantees and others in the community, so It's been a real pleasure.
Absolutely. So, Heather, if you could, when I joined last year, I think one of the things that really excited me about the organization is that it's a very targeted strategy. You have focus on non-hormonal reversible methods of male contraception. Could you just share with us kind of the impetus behind that focus and why that's an important field to focus on?
Sure. So I think first and foremost, there's good research being done already out there with hormonal methods. Many people may have already seen in the news quite frequently over the past year in particular, a lot of sort of the updates coming from the non-hormonal clinical trials that are out there. So that's good work that's being done, and there was a need for more support in the field of non-hormonal reversible contraception for men. So we felt that that was a place where we could have good impact. As far as that target specifically, I think that non-hormonal is something that is always desirable in the method mix for both men and women. So there, at least from where I'm coming from in all of this, there's a lot more promise for male-targeted non-hormonal methods, and so we're helping to try and hopefully move some of those leads forward as quickly as possible.
Very cool. So the, MCI is set up as a 501c3 charity. We're a nonprofit. We take donations from the general public and we invest that. Can you talk a little bit about what the investment strategy is? I think we have an interesting multi-pronged approach to how we utilize the donations that come in. And could you just talk a little bit about those different funding mechanisms and also why each are important?
Absolutely. So our first and foremost source of support goes directly to research, bench research, trying to get those leads, like I was saying earlier, get those moving forward so that they can get to market sooner. I know we'll talk about this a bit as well, but the development pathway is a long one and an expensive one. So we're trying to help kind of kick that off, and there's folks like our colleagues at NIH and NICHD downstream who are helping move down further, products downstream further. So we're trying to fit in how we can in the earlier stage. So in addition to traditional research, we also really believe that we need to keep the field seated with more young people, young researchers. So we do a lot of postdoctoral and graduate level and even some undergraduate level support through travel grants for any of you out there who are looking to attend meetings. And we really enjoy that, getting to go to meetings like the American Society for Andrology meeting, and we've had so many of our travel award recipients come up to us there, and it's an opportunity to meet leaders in the field and to have really the necessary conversations and networking opportunities, and then to just present the work that they're doing. So that's something that we really enjoy doing. We also sponsor fellowships every year, again, putting plugs out for those applications. And we're on our second cohort of fellows, and that's something we're really proud of as well. So really keeping ongoing research going and making sure that that's a vibrant future for continuing the development of these methods as well. And then a big arm of what we do right now is advocacy and communications around this, and I think
well, I'm glad you touched on that.
it's a good thing. That's why you come in every day, Kevin.
Yeah.
So, and we feel it's really important now. I think a lot of people might scratch their heads and say, there's no products, what are you communicating about? But one of the things that we feel really passionate about is that I think one of the major things that's held male contraception back for a while is the fact that there's a lot of mythology and misperceptions around the fact that men aren't interested in contraceptive methods and that their female partners wouldn't be interested or trust them to use them. And so I have to say, primarily through the great work you've done since you've come on board, Kevin, is we are giving a voice to folks and saying, okay, we really want to test this out. So we've done that through traditional market research. We launched a market research report in January of this year that gave a bit of detail around the potential market in the US here, with potential 17 million men interested in finding new methods.
Very cool.
Yeah, we've worked with our good friends and colleagues at YTH out in the Bay Area. Another shout out for a great nonprofit. We've done some youth engagement work with them around the same topic. And just getting those voices to come out and say, actually, you know what, no, that's not really the general sense of things. Men are interested. Men want to be an equal participant in the contraception choice scenario. They want to feel protected in their sexual and reproductive health as well. So it's been really interesting and rewarding to have those conversations. In addition to that, and we're gonna be plugging for a lot from you guys today, we really urge our folks that are listening via social media to reach out to us. We have memes that we put out with quotes from people. So it's really about hearing you and putting that message back out into the world that now is the time. And all of that we're hoping will funnel back into building even more support to move these important projects forward more quickly.
Absolutely, and I'll just add to that saying that you're looking at two-thirds of the full-time staff and half of our entire staff. So when you do reach out to us, if it's via social media, you're talking literally to me. And if you send an email via our contact page on the website, it's going to be either Heather, Logan, or I responding to you. And again, we love to hear from people. We love to hear different perspectives. We love the work that we do, and we challenge you to reach out to us and share your opinions, because it will live somewhere, whether it's on social media or in an annual report or anything. It's your perspective is very, very important to us. One thing you already touched upon this is, as a general neophyte to this industry before I started last year, I was kind of amazed at the timeline of a potential drug from the discovery of a potential target to the time it reaches the shelf. So when you read about male contraception and you hear all these things like, oh, it's 6 months away, and then that's countered with the reality of it's actually going to take years and years. Can you just shed some light into why the timeline is so long and what our work does to accelerate that timeline?
Absolutely. So I think I have to take a moment and I have to channel Logan for a minute, because he always uses this quote that male contraception has been 6 months away for 50 years.
Yes.
I'm probably not doing as well as he does, but the point is, I think that also is a testament to the excitement around it. So there's been a lot of sort of false starts, I guess, around this, how near to market we are with methods. And that can be really detrimental to people that are really engaged in this. It kind of disengages them and disillusions people from investing in this space as well, when in fact we've really made an effort to try and articulate the clear path. So not that there is one, but that, the path from discovery to introduction on the market is decades. So when you're starting from square one, if it's 15 to 20 years, that's a good path.
Wow.
So we have a development pipeline of products that span across different stages of development, so not everything is that early on. But most methods, are still at best a few to 5 to 10 years off, and most are longer than that. But we shouldn't view that as something that's off-putting, because that's what's gotten us where we are now. We haven't started sooner. If we had started 20 years ago, we would have these methods. So we're making inroads now. There's greater momentum than I've ever seen, and we need to really make sure, I feel that we have an obligation at MCI especially to keep that momentum going. And I think the fact that it's often described as a pathway to development, or there's just sort of this linear visual that comes when you think about, I just take my little product and walk it through the pathway. But we engaged with some of our colleagues in the field this summer, and one of the greatest, I think, aha moments for me was we had the discovery pathway up there, and everybody's like, no, it is not a straight line. So we came up with this swirling vortex concept that Kevin's been working on trying to figure out how to articulate it. So it's not necessarily a direct pathway. There's a lot of loops that come back in there. So you want to make sure your product is safe and works well, and that sounds really straightforward, but it's a lot of work in between those two words. So, yeah.
And I guess that kind of dovetails nicely into the next question I have for you, and it touches upon just challenges. So what is so challenging about male contraception that has kind of driven this lack of new products over the last 50 years, as you said?
I think that the challenge is unique to male contraception as part of a larger challenge. Yeah. So when you take a step back and look at contraception overall, there's some great work and great support that's out there trying to improve upon existing female contraceptive methods, and that's really important. And I feel that the majority of work has focused on getting female contraceptive methods, a method mix out there, and women bear the brunt of a pregnancy, and I think that makes sense. So a lot of the folks who are donating in that space and who have traditionally donated in that space continue to do so. So, there's a really small group of really committed folks like the Gates Foundation, USAID, NIH, a bunch of smaller family foundations that do this kind of support. So for us, we're saying, okay, that's great. So we want to continue that good work, and then we want to start phase 2. So we're really viewing phase 2 now as continuing to improve upon existing methods for women, because I will tell you, as a woman, they aren't all great. But I also think that as a woman, part of that method mix would be to have a partner that could use a method.
Sure.
So the next stage, if you will, is that improvement, which includes bringing the male contraceptive options up to par with what's out there now. So
Sure.
I think that that's been one limiting feature. So we are looking for funding for a very expensive pathway for product development within a sector that's already limited by what funding's out there.
Gotcha. So funding is
That's
big.
one.
It's the big challenge.
Yeah.
So I'll just put on my general public hat right now, and I'll ask, well, why, the pharmaceutical industry is a billions and billions and billions of dollars of profit every year. So why aren't they investing in this? Why? What's preventing this kind of drug development if funding seems to be the number one thing that's identified as a challenge?
That's a good question, and I think the short answer is that there's not a lot of pharma engagement in this space. The pharmaceutical industry has sort of backed away from the contraceptive space in general, because a lot of them have developed products that are on the market, and that sort of has been able to sustain what they need in that space. I think that in an interest of being fair, that I think they take a lot of heat for that a lot. Sometimes even for me, if I'm being honest. But I do think there's a lot to tackle out there. And, as a business, they're looking at risk, balances, and there's a lot of risk in trying to invest in a non-treatable outcome. So we're looking at pausing fertility, right? So we focus on reversible contraception, which means we have to be able to stop a vital, important function and also guarantee that we can bring that back.
Sure.
So I think that when you're looking at all the challenges that we're faced with in the disease spectrum, sometimes that balance just shifts. So I think that we'll see a resurgence and things will come back. And there's a lot of engagement with, you'll hear the term de-risking a lot, where donated funds will get products to a certain point in the hopes that then the pharma industry can come up and bring their expertise to get it over that last hump. So there's different matrix models that I think have emerged over time.
Gotcha. So going back to with that in mind, and thank you very much for the explanation, and then going back to the swirling vortex kind of visual, where do you see MCI fitting in that pathway? And since it's Giving Tuesday and we want people to donate generously to us, why is general public support, financial support, important in extending our mission?
That's a great question. It's not important, it is critical. It is, it's the support that we get through private and public donations that's the only reason we exist. So we do not at this point have any grants from the government or anything like that. That goes directly to a lot of our same grantees as well. So we're really trying to make a difference in this space. So the funds go directly to, we have several different grant making mechanisms. So there's a seed grant mechanism that is usually in the $150,000 range, and that's really to help researchers get out of this initial phase and kind of really solidify proof of concept of their projects. And then we have what we call discovery and development grants. So that's the next stage. And those grants help, again, so it's walking through that process. And yes, sometimes that gets you to one of those loops, but at least it's moving you forward. So, I mean, it's one-to-one. I don't know how to express it deeply enough that those dollars are how these methods are moving forward right now.
Nice. I do feel compelled to share one anecdote that I'm extremely proud of that I think speaks to, when you see these dollar amounts, $150,000, $500,000, for the average person on the street thinking of donating, you say, oh, well, what could my $5 possibly contribute towards? I'm just throwing money into the ether. But what I am particularly enamored with are our travel grants, which could just be a matter of a few $1,000s. And last year, we were able to award a doctor in Cameroon, Jackie, a small travel grant so that she could travel to Rwanda to attend the International Conference on Family Planning. And from that, because of the connections she was able to make there, she has since, in the past year, launched her own NGO that's brought sexual reproductive health messaging to thousands of youth throughout Cameroon. So these kind of, you can't overstate the impact that a few dollars could have in catalyzing change and impact. So I just wanted to throw that little plug out because we're super proud of Dr. Jackie. She's one of the Gates Foundation's 120 under 40, your future of family planning. But it really does speak to the value of every donation and how we're able to utilize that in advancing the field in manifold ways. So
that's a really great point. I'm glad you said that because it's true. Some of these young researchers, it's even less than $1,000. Sometimes it's a plane ticket, so it's $500 or $300. So we get a lot of these requests in, and it sounds cliche, but every dollar helps. And so we're grateful for every single donation we receive.
Absolutely. So in thinking about it, and this is an interesting time to be talking about this because we just came out of our annual board meeting in which we talked about the strategy and the plan for the next several years. So I guess in speaking to the general public, what can folks expect from MCI in the coming months and years?
Well, we're really excited about 2020. We're just hoping to continue to build upon a lot of the progress we've made in this year. And again, a lot of that goes out to our folks out there who support us on social media, our donors, because that's really lifted us up. I mean, even just sharing your thoughts and things with us allows us to translate that into how we're going to look at expanding our reach for our market research studies. So we want to gather more evidence about, okay, now we've demonstrated in the US that there's a potential market of 17 million men, and that there's also interest among young people. But now we want to see what's happening in other countries. We want to assess what the appetite is for male contraception there. Again, we through our own travels and our own discussions, because once you're in this job, I have to tell you, all you talk about is male contraception, because it takes one question at a holiday party or whatever, and you get the entire room's opinions. So anecdotally, I feel pretty confident that everywhere we go, folks are pretty supportive of this. So we just need, to document that in a rigorous way. So that's one thing we're hoping to do next year. We are going to continue our grant making as we always do. That's a really important part for us. And we're also looking to build on a community that we've really, I'm going to say broke ground on, just for a metaphor. So again, I keep referring back to the research community as well. We really are nestled in this group of amazing people between our donors and folks that communicate with us through social media and the researchers that are doing this work. I cannot tell you enough, these are amazing people. And so we brought a group of these folks together in July to talk about how we can work together to make things go forward. So these are people that, there's no ego involved. They're just really, these are folks that have been by their bootstraps continuing to move these methods forward, prior to MCI even being around. MCI has only been around this was our 5th year in existence. So we've kind of coined this group Team Science. So we've got some activities around continuing to build our Team Science group and really solidify our abilities to collaborate and work cooperatively. So those are some of the things I'm most excited about, in addition to just seeing more of the great research that's coming out.
Yeah, and I'll just plug our website real quick too. It's malecontraceptive.org is the URL, and on there we have a section called Publications, in which you can read the ideation event report where a lot of these Team Science ideas and the concepts that we arrived at after those several days collaborating are captured in that document, so you can check it out for yourself.
I'm going to interrupt you there and say you should look at the blog too, because one of the cool things that we've been able to do is we had our first fellow this year who has now subsequently been roped in as a part-time employee, but that'll teach her.
Yes.
A word of warning to any future fellows. So Catherine Carpenter, one of her activities during her fellowship this summer was to look through the survey research results that we get. So I know in a lot of our newsletters you'll see that we have survey questions, and we really are asking those questions for a reason, to kind of understand what we can help to share with the community to better communicate things like that the pathway is actually a swirling vortex, things like that. So one of my favorite blogs that we put out is Catherine's blog about, she went through and said, people really want to understand why this is taking so long. So there's a great blog that she wrote about the pathway and kind of giving a nice broad overview of how that all works. So our blog is also very active, and we try to bring a lot of different voices there.
Absolutely. And the, I guess, thinking about that, the information sharing component of our practice, and as we're kind of wrapping up our inaugural Facebook Live event, I would love for you to share, is there anything that stands out? You've been working in the field of contraception research and development for decades now. Is there?
Thanks for sharing that live.
For months now,
for a few years.
Yeah. So what is one thing that you wish all people knew about male contraception, or would at least consider when thinking about male contraception? It doesn't need to be one thing, you can say so.
Okay. It's like me. You limit yourself to one thing.
Nightmare scenario.
Right. No, I think that you're predicting my response as you're asking the question. That I really find contraception in general to be such a powerful area of health and impact. So, there's so much evidence out there from the decades of research that has been done around contraception and contraception uptake around the world. Contraception does not just help women, determine when and how many children to have. The ability to kind of plan out your family is so powerful. So there's economic impacts that come from that. Smaller family sizes have been shown to, have greater economic outcomes. There's associations with higher rates of education, especially, I mean, that's a global finding. You know, more girls in particular go to school if they're able to, you know, put off having children until later in life. Women entering the workforce, and all of those great things are out there, but that's been done almost exclusively through the use of female-controlled and female-acting methods, and also primarily hormonal methods. So I am always willing to speak about my personal experiences. I think you have to be working in this space, but you know, the side effects from a lot of these methods are not inconsequential. And so I think in addition, again, to improving upon existing methods for women, bringing a greater array of opportunities for our partners to come into this conversation and the decision making is so critical. And I think that when I first, you know, a lot of my colleagues from the other side, well, a lot of, you know, want that autonomy for women and want to preserve that. And of course that's important. That's what we all want to preserve as well. But I think it's easier if you look at it from like a personal experience or looking at a brother, or for me it's my son too. I have a 9-year-old and I'm thinking I want him to have more options than basically condom or vasectomy or withdrawal. I want him to be able to have a selection. So I think all those factors come into play, and you know, I just think that male contraception is so exciting because it's so uncharted at this point. And so I think what I'm really excited about is male contraception in and of itself and how it's going to impact the larger contraceptive space. So that sort of manifold impact, using one of your favorite words.
Nice, yeah. Well, and I'll add to that too, from a male perspective. You know, having more methods. I think about my nieces, my female friends, my sisters, and things like that, and empowering couples, but especially men, to shoulder more of the burden is only going to be a helpful thing. You know, it's not he said, she said, as we do in our campaign, it's we said. Yeah, a little plug in there. So the last question I have for you is going to be a two-parter.
Okay.
Yeah. One is, what is your most hopeful, optimistic vision for the future of male contraception? And then to bring it all back, how can the general public, through their support, help ensure that vision becomes a reality?
I think right now my biggest hope for the future of contraception is that we just get there. I think I feel this momentum, I feel the energy and the fact that you can start to see these products are moving forward faster. I think that my hope is that this time it sticks and that we can keep that momentum going. And to me that directly relates to part 2, which is if we can continue to get the support from the public funds, the general public, the $5, $3, all of those funds help fund this research. And it's a way to demonstrate, you know, it's not just about dollars. By putting dollars out, you're also contributing to that advocacy arm for us as well. I mean, every dollar we receive is basically someone raising their hand and saying, I think this is important.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. And as we always say, with a lot of our messaging, it takes two, and it's about time. So, but yeah, that's it for us today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Happy Giving Tuesday. Don't forget to visit malecontraceptive.org. Donate, please, which is always fantastic. But also just share some feedback. You know, be a part of the conversation, as Heather was saying. You know, it's going to take a collective effort to illustrate to the world that there is a demand, and that demand will be rewarded, and that you know, we will positively impact the world with these new methods once they're available. So thank you again, and have a great day.
Thank you.